Okay, my sister's part 3. So we just were on the floor and we were noticing the effort that it could take to contract all that exhale and the expansion that happens on the inhale, maybe noticing that it's hard to inhale and to expand. Maybe we need some help there too. Remember, there was no right or wrong. It was more an exercise in understanding relationships within the body and how the anatomy and the physiology work together and how necessary muscle strength is to very basic, normal daily functioning, including breath, which is just about the most important function of the body. So, you should see how important the muscles are for that and how they're all working together. We are going to do pelvic rolls now, and I have made another video on this, but we're going to do this pelvic roll now again because the purpose of it is to find the natural curve of our lumbar spine in stability, okay? So we're going to find what is your natural curve. Everyone has a different curve. It's just natural. We're also physiologically different. So some of you have a very strong curve, some of you have a very small curve. Either way, you want to find what's natural for you because this is going to really help you when you need to bend down to pick something up through a squat. It really helps determine how far out you need to extend your behind, how far back you need to really go back, okay? I guess there's no fancy way to say that. How far back you need to go. It's also going to help you understand the relationship with the front of your sternum. How much lift is your sternum requiring, right? Because your sternum will lift in opposition of the extension of the back behind. So these relationships, right? These relationships front and back, side to side, top to bottom. So we need to know what our natural lumbar is, and then once we find that natural lumbar from these pelvic rolls, when we find this natural curve, we are going to investigate stabilizing that by doing very, very minor movements, okay? And we're going to work into bigger movements. And the purpose of this is not abdominal workout per se. This is actually exercises to stabilize the relationships between the top, the bottom, the front, the back, the upper front from the lower back, the upper back from the lower front, the whole kit and caboodle of the trunk, okay? So the stabilizing should not be mistaken as an abdominal workout, okay? Abdominis is here. This is stabilizing, and it's actually very much the same things that happen when we're in plank pose, okay? The difference is that when we're working in plank pose, we have a lot of attention also on our upper body and our shoulders, and this is great. We also have so much attention put in our legs, holding the string. But what we really want to do is we want to spend some time going deeper into this trunk so that we get stronger in micro ways, so that in our daily life, in our daily fitness, in our daily exercise, we're more and more adapted to this stabilized spine, okay? A lot of these, this is actually directly coming from physiotherapy, specifically for back injuries. And this is very, very, very effective. I cannot tell you how many lumbar or slip disc, bulging discs have been cured using this stabilizing technique, okay? So just listen to the cues really well. You're going to start with your legs 45, not 90, 45, soft and easy. You can just roll down however is natural to you. You don't have to put a lot of intention in it because we're going to be putting a lot of intention pretty soon. You can start with your arms up above your head and just for a minute, just flop around and just get a little bit comfortable. We're going to do one thing, we're going to step our feet out by just, using the toe, heel. And you want your feet just a little bit wider than your mat. And you're just going to start by dropping your right thigh. You're going to feel how the hip raises up as the leg drops down, don't drop the left leg also, just, feel this sort of floppy, natural raise and soft stretch. And what you're gonna do is from your foot itself, pull back, okay? I'm pulling using, of course, the joints of my hips. My knees have nothing to do with it. My foot, the inside of my foot is pulling, and the hip joint is following. The knees are along for the ride. And then the left side. Feel that nice soft stretch. Pull with the inside of the left foot, pulling, hips responding, and just go back and forth like this. You should really not be feeling pressure in your knees. If you are, it means that you're moving from the knees. You should be feeling the inside of the foot working to pull back your hips. What we're doing is we are balancing our sacrum. You might even hear some popping in your hips. So the reason we start with this exercise is because we want to align our sacrum. And a lot of us have hips that are either too low, too high, too forward, too back, too twisted. It's natural. Nobody's symmetrical. So when we have this inner foot pulling or pushing, you can feel the relationship really beautifully between the feet and the hip flexors, pulling it back, and the natural rotation. I get this beautiful little pop every time I pull because I have these really misplaced hips, but it's healing. And the more I do this exercise, the more the rotation of my femur and my hip balances, and you might be noticing the same thing. Now, if your knees hurt, it might be an indication that you're not flexible enough, but and you're trying to go down too low. But you want to really just not move from the knees at all. All the force and the pressure is coming from the feet, that inside arch of the foot and the hips. And this will actually help your knees over time because it will help you maintain more relationship with movement coming from the feet and the hips and not the knees. All right, so now you stop that rocking and pulling, and you can just feel your sacrum is very open and very, very flat. And you might feel this beautiful opening, depending on how contracted your sacrum is. This is we're going to go into this deeper because this is part of our sciatica cure series. I do this exercise every time my sciatica gets ignited, and it takes away my sciatica altogether. And many times I'll just, after doing that active, I'll just leave my legs in this position, and it just ever so gently pulls and opens my sacrum. And then also, if you have sciatica, you should never pronate. You should never do this happy baby or open your legs like that. When active sciatica is engaged, always allow this rotation to fall in. All right, so our sacrum is nice on the floor. Here we go. Just back to our nice normal hip width legs, feet on the ground. We are going to vertebra by vertebra, very, very slowly, from the pubis pulling up, lift spine, one by one, vertebra at a time. And you're going to feel the pushing of the spine back into the floor. Don't pay attention to your breathing just yet. You're lifting. We're not doing this exercise to strengthen our glutes or our hamstrings, but you'll notice that they work to help sustain the strength necessary for the pubis to pull up. We're really trying to work from the muscles of the pelvic floor here to pull the pelvis up. And pull until you can really try to feel the subtlety of each and every single vertebra. Feel the collapsing of your belly button back into the spine as you pull up.
breathing naturally. The pubic bone is still pulling up as the source of the spine's pressure against the floor. You should really be feeling these muscles in your groin working, and the pulling up and in of those lower pelvic floor muscles. And here you go, rolling up, coming into your thoracic. If you're already there, you're going too fast. Keep going up. We're between the scapula now. Going up. We're almost to the cervical neck, right? And we're going to keep going up just until we reach the point where we start putting pressure on the neck. You feel your neck elongating at some point, like it's reaching to that back wall, but still you can roll up onto those vertebrae. And then you reach that point where the sternum and the rib cage start, expanding and reaching up and out. And then you reach the point where your neck and your chin close, and you get that nice soft squeeze in your thyroid, and you hold here. And you breathe with that nice soft squeeze in the thyroid. There's no pressure on your neck. You're at the very, very top of your thoracic spine before you reach your cervical spine. And this is this beautiful thyroid breath. And now slowly descend down. In order to descend down, you have to have a new commitment to pulling up on your pubic bone. And same time, you feel the pressing of your sternum down. Down. So again, this rolling so slowly down. While the pubic bone lifts up and the sternum presses down. And you can start to feel really the contractions of your abdominis muscles, pulling that belly button back into the spine. Right when you get to where the lumbar spine starts, you notice how hard it is to really feel that spine touching, and you have to start actually really actively engaging your whole thoracic contraction forward in order to actually feel like you can get the lumbar spine to touch the floor, right? And you actually have to lift the thoracic spine to get that. Okay. Once you've been able to feel that lumbar touch and your thoracic body lets go, and now again you're back to your sacrum area and your tailbone, and as it presses itself into the floor, you feel again how now, watch how as the pelvis pushes itself into the floor, again you have that lifting, that arching, pulling even, it's pulling my thoracic spine down from the hips. And now just relax and breathe. And now stick your fingers together underneath your spine. That's your natural lumbar curve. And you can really see how the relationship between the sacrum and the thoracic, you should feel an even distribution of weight on your sacrum as your thoracic. You shouldn't feel heavy in the top body or the lower body. You should feel an even distribution. If you feel too heavy in the lower body, you didn't actually pull long enough before you relaxed and let go. meaning that your thoracic is still stuck up there somewhere. So we're gonna do it again, okay? And maybe 2 more times. So I wanna talk about this point where when we're in trying to get our lumbar to touch the ground, I kept pulling up, like this feeling that I had to contract, and still I couldn't get the feeling that my lumbar actually touched the ground. It wouldn't touch. So this time what we're gonna do is we are going to, when we come into this contraction, we are going to stick our bellies out with a big inhale. And now I feel the full rounding. Okay, and then we're gonna exhale and work to the lower body. So very intentionally, as you push that upper spine down as it's descending, and you allow the muscles of your upper body to contract to support that pushing down. Right when you get to this point, right, where you want this lumbar to touch the mat, give a nice inhale, let it all go, round belly, round back, and exhale again and move to the lower body. So likewise, as you exhale, notice how easy it is to bring mobility into the spine. Okay, so even this, we're gonna start this pelvic curl with an exhale. And right here, right when we get to this point where it's time for that lumbar to touch the ground, pop an inhale, feel the belly ball. When you felt that vertebra touch the mat, then exhale and continue your journey. Okay? So you're gonna do it both from the up and the down. We're exhaling, we're gonna inhale a nice belly ball here, sticking it all out, getting a nice full belly breath, and exhale again as we continue the upward journey, coming down. You can exhaling, feeling the contraction of the belly as it wants to exhale, coming to the point of the lumbar. Breathe in and exhale it down. There's no right or wrong, you are just noticing mechanics, okay? Here we go. Exhale and start the pelvis coming up. You're breathing naturally. Almost reaching the top of the thoracic. It's faster when we integrate breath, right? Right until you hit that sternum lift and that beautiful thyroid squeeze. And coming down. Vertebra by vertebra, feel the compression and the pushing of the upper thoracic. Focusing on your exhales. Inhaling naturally, but focusing on your exhales until you reach the belly button place. A nice big inhale. Touch that lumbar down and exhale. thoracic down with it. Pulling, 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 pulling. And it's done. And just relax. Now this time as I inhaled intentionally at the belly button and then focused on my exhales and then just let the inhales come as they did, I noticed I needed a lot less of this extreme contraction on the abdominis muscles. Things flowed a lot better. So we're going to do that one more time. We're going to go again, and this time you're really just going to let your breath flow. You're going to focus on your exhales as you contract, and you're going to let the inhales come naturally. The only place where you're going to control your breath in and out is that right before you get to the belly button, you're going to make sure that you've squeezed everything out. This is the lower body point. And then when you take that inhale and let that belly expand, hold there until you exhale it all again to start your upward body journey. Okay? Is that clear? So when we get to the belly button inhalation, we exhale fully from the belly button before we start rolling up to the upper part of the spine again. And if you need to, you can press your heels in or you can press your toes in if that helps you. Again, we're not focusing on the muscles of our glutes or our hamstrings, though you might notice them getting active. We're really just working on this rolling of the spine, the balance of the thoracic and sacral and the lumbar. And now noticing how breath plays a role. And exhale and begin. Moving from the pubic bone. Holding in with those pelvic muscles on the exhale. Inhaling naturally and exhaling again strong. Continuing to round. You get to that lumbar place. Hold and breathe at the thyroid squeeze. And on an exhale, start descending. Feel the contraction necessary that the spine really pushes against the floor as you roll down. Just relax into your neutral, natural lumbar curve. Balanced weight of the sacrum and the thoracic. Noticing your belly rising and falling and the softness. At this point, you should be feeling so much more the involvement of the contraction and that external flexion of the spine, and how the abdominis muscles are really necessary in that pulling and contracting to really let the spine flex and round and contract. Then you can really feel how on the exhale everything is pulled in and up. And it's interesting how when we pull in and up from the lower body, right, you can really feel like a pulling in and up. Whereas in the upper body, you feel that pushing down, and it's not that it's pushing out, but it is in a way. So it's really interesting because the body has this upper and lower portions to it, right? And in a way, they're working in different directions. The upper body is working and the lower body. And you can really see in these exercises how that's happening. And you can see the role of breath and the flexion and contraction of the spine. So this is number 3, exercise number 3, the pelvic roll with the breathing, noticing the contraction of the abdominals, the natural lumbar curve, the balance of the thoracic and the sacral spine, and how they rest on the earth. And again, there's no right or wrong. You're just noticing the different mechanics of your body. And especially notice what you feel now. What's going on? Where is your balance? Do you feel more balanced? Are you lightheaded? Are you getting so much oxygen that you've never had before? There's so many different experiences you could be having from this. So take a minute to really explore that before we start doing the stabilization exercises in part 4. Om Namah Shivaya.